Hi guys, welcome to my channel. I'm so glad to have you here, and I'm really excited to announce that this week we have the incredible Pollyanna from the Beglad Movement talking to us about what she does, how you can get involved and how it could change your life. So before we go any further, don't forget to hit that like button, smash the subscribe button and hit that notification bell to make sure that you never miss a video just like this. I post twice a week, once on a Tuesday and once on a Thursday, and I can't wait to have you as part of the warrior tribe. But enough about me. Welcome Pollyanna. It is so amazing to have you here with us. Pollyanna is coming in through video link. So Pollyanna, tell us about the Beglad movement and how it came about and why it's so important to you.
Of course. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm really pleased to be able to talk to you, and it's lovely when people invite me to tell them about the Beglad movement, because obviously it's something that I want to shout about. So basically, I had the idea back in 2015, but as often is the way, life got in the way, and so it kind of got put on the back burner a little bit. But just to explain, it's based around my name. My mum named me Pollyanna after the book and film Pollyanna, in which the little girl plays the glad game. And basically that means that in any negative situation, she looks for the positives that she can get out of that situation. And so when I was growing up, my mum used to say to me, if anything ever went wrong in my life, my mum would say to me, now come on Polly, play the glad game. And I would have to then try and look for a positive in that negative situation. But also I'd have to list off all the things that I was grateful for and lucky to have in my life, of which there are many, because hey, I've been born in the UK. That's a massive postcode lottery in itself, isn't it? So I've always got something to be grateful for, even down to just the very simple things of having food, water, shelter, and I've always been very fortunate to be surrounded by a lot of love. So that sort of it's a strategy that has served me really well over the years, because even though I've got all of those things, as everybody knows, life happens and things don't always go your way, and you lose boyfriends and you know all that lovely stuff. Using this strategy of essentially what is gratitude journaling in the moment, it just would stop me from going into a downward spiral of despair and woe is me and that kind of thing. Obviously I'd still be a little bit disappointed and a little bit grumpy, but to reconnect with those foundations, if you like, of gratitude and abundance, I guess you could say, because at the end of the day I've never gone hungry, and I've always had a roof over my head. So in the grand scheme of things, I'm actually a very lucky person, and being able to reconnect with that has really helped me over the years when I have hit hard times, so that's sort of how it came about. Very sadly, at the end of last year, 2017, I lost two friends to cancer, and these friends faced cancer with such dignity and grace, and it got me thinking, if I was only given a couple of months to live, what would I really regret not doing? And one of those things was obviously the Beglad movement. It's my namesake in a way, and so because of that, and because of the way they were so just the dignity and grace that they faced cancer with was phenomenal. And I think maybe one of the things that had put me off of doing the Beglad movement back in 2015 was not so much the effort involved, but because I was planning on interviewing people about their stories of good coming out of bad and reasons to be glad. Maybe I was a little bit shy, and so because they had been so fearless in the face of what they faced, I thought, I've got nothing to be scared of anymore. What have I got to be scared of? I've just got to crack on and do this, because life is just too short. So because I wanted to do it, I thought I'd better set myself some goals to hold me accountable. So that's where it sort of turned into a charity challenge. So at the beginning, well, it wasn't even the beginning of the year, I only started in February. I set myself the target of collecting 100 stories by the end of the year, of good coming out of bad and reasons to be glad. That's like my little strap line. And also to collect money for the Samaritans and Action for Happiness. So there's the Samaritans, and they don't give advice, they just give you space. And then the Action for Happiness team, they run workshops up and down the country. They do eight sessions over 8 weeks, and people from the local community can pay to go along. And when you go, you not only sort of explore ideas around your own personal happiness, but how to make a happier community at large. So I think that's really valuable work. So that's why they're the two charities that I wanted to support. So I set myself a rather grand challenge, a total of £10,000 to be split between the two charities. So we're up to 44 stories now. So, and I've got others in the pipeline because I've been doing video interviews like we are now. So I've been doing that, but obviously not everybody wants to be on camera. So some people have been writing their stories for me, and some people have even been writing their stories and sending them anonymously because there might be other people involved in the story that they don't want to be upset by it, and that's fine as well. So I'm just as happy to get stories like that. So I've literally got until the end of the year to collect another 50 odd stories. So I'm hoping that maybe some of your community will hopefully see this and get on board, because that would be really great.
So what are you planning to do with all of these stories that you're collecting?
That's a really good question, because I don't really know, or at least I didn't really know at the beginning. I just felt like I needed to get started and see where it would lead me. So it's not a business, it's just me trying to get the message out about gratitude journaling in the moment, essentially, being grateful, the benefits of not dwelling on, I mean, obviously there are people that are going through horrific things, and I don't want to belittle any of that or just, oh, it's all right, just pretend it didn't happen, because it's not about pretending something hasn't happened. And I 100% believe it's really important to go through your emotions, to allow yourself to be sad, to allow yourself to grieve, not necessarily just a loss of a person, but the loss of an opportunity or whatever it is that you are hoping for. It's really important to let yourself go through that, but then not to stay there too long, if that makes sense, not to allow that to become your primary story, because I really feel that people can overcome their adversities if they spend the time looking for whatever positives they can, even if it's just that they survived that situation. And I always think that even when you're in the worst possible situation, you've still got the power to smile and make someone else happy. Everybody's got that power, and that's not to be sort of sniffed at. Do you know what I mean? I think it's an important thing to remember, that you do make a difference to somebody. I'm a military wife, so my husband's in the forces. I have to travel around a lot. As I say, I've got 44 stories so far. Quite a few of those are military related stories. So it was suggested to me that maybe I should put them in a book, but then it could potentially be two separate books, one at sort of the military audience and the other at the other audience, because obviously being a mum as well, I've got various mum stories too. So I don't really know where it's going to take me. At the moment, it's generally this year-long, well, not even a full year, but a year-long project. But even after, New Year's Eve, I'm not going to say no if anybody wants to submit a story, because I'm trying to, the whole point of it when I first thought of it back in 2015 was to create a space where people could share their stories, and then if you are going through a hard time, you can come and just see that these people have been through hard times too, and not to belittle whatever you're going through, but just, you know, just hold on, keep going. There is hope at the end of the tunnel. Just look for that spark of inspiration, of how you can turn your negative into a positive, how you can turn your adversity into potentially even prosperity, you know.
And if somebody in the warrior tribe is listening and watching and is going through a moment of difficulty in their lives, what would your number one piece of advice to them be?
Well, I think the first thing they can do is start keeping a gratitude diary. And I know it's easier said than done, but if you can go for at least 30 days, and I learnt this off of a chap that I interviewed called David O'Mahony, who he actually was in a terrible accident. He was in the military, but he lost pretty much a quarter of his skull in a road traffic accident. And it had terrible effect on his mental health, as you can imagine. And he now does teach veterans how to gratitude journal. So yeah, if you can keep a gratitude journal for at least 30 days, and what you need to do is, actually we did a live video, David and I, when he talked about this, which you can see on the Facebook page. You need to list off 3 things that was good in your day that you're grateful for, and you do this each evening, and then 3 good turns that you've done for someone else. So it's not all about me, mine, and what I've got, it's about what you've given back. I've sometimes struggled with that because I'm pretty much a stay-at-home mum, so I don't always see lots of people to be able to help. But if you can, even if you can just, I don't know, ring someone up and ask them how they're doing, or send a nice text message to someone, it all counts. Or donate to someone's charity cause, you know, that kind of thing. So 3 things that you're grateful for, 3 things that you've done to help someone else, and then just write a little bit of a reflection on your day. So you might have woken up in a really bad mood, and unfortunately sometimes that can be carried completely through the day. If you take the time, and this is a bit like cognitive behavioural therapy, if you take the time to think about, okay, all right, I'm in a bad mood. Why am I in a bad mood? Could it be that I went to bed really late? I also ate a really heavy spicy curry, which meant I didn't sleep very well, you know, and I ate that late, because we've all been there, haven't we? Or maybe I was boozing and you know, and so I didn't sleep very well, or I've got a hangover, all of these things, or maybe someone just upset me and it was churning on my mind, and I didn't sleep well, so that's why I've also woken up in a grumpy mood. And it can be simple things like, okay, someone's upset me, why has it upset me? And just take the time to sort of think about, okay, because they said this, and in my head I think that, but actually, is that really true? There's a lady called Byron Katie, she sort of teaches about questioning yourself and asking yourself when you're having these thoughts, my mum's so unreasonable, you know, she always does this. And then if you say, is that really true? You know, it's probably not the case that she always does whatever it is that's upset you. So that's a really good question to sort of ask yourself as well. So gratitude journaling is a massive one to help you get out of that mindset, because it is a mindset. When you think about little children, they aren't born with, you know, they aren't born with these preconceptions, or they don't think about how other people think about them. And as adults, we spend a lot of time in our heads thinking about the past, or thinking about the future, or thinking about what other people think about us. I think one of the most valuable things I've ever been told is that what someone, and it's a quote by someone, but I forget who said it originally, is what other people think of us is none of our business. And that's quite helpful to keep in mind, because everybody has got very different challenges. So I think everybody has their cross to bear, as my granny used to say, and you know, everybody has lived a life from a different perspective, and I think all of us should not only be kinder to each other and more understanding to each other, but a lot kinder to ourselves. and not worry about what other people think. If you need help, it's okay to not be okay. It's not okay to not reach out for help. And that if you're willing to reach out, there are definitely going to be people that are willing to help you. So don't let your mind tell you any old rubbish, because honestly, there are people out there that will help you. And if the first person is too busy or can't, move on to the next person, and just don't give up, because there's definitely help out there if you're willing to look for it. And that's a big thing.
So have you had any hard times where you've used this technique of gratitude journaling on the go to get you through?
Yeah, so the sort of first example is my first foray into running a business. I used to run an interior design business, and I had an online what we used to call an e-commerce site back in the day, which is now just salesy website. I remember actually when I was setting that up, because I lived in a very rural area, there was a company that I think they were called Whisper Broadband or something like that. They put like a satellite on your roof to get the internet to your house, because it was, how old was I then? 22. I'm 38 now. You can do the maths. That company went bust. So I paid 500. I remember that 500 quid so well. I paid 500 quid to get it all set up, and that was a massive amount of money to me back then. And then they went bust, and so I didn't get the internet at that point in time, and I was so gutted. It was just a nightmare. But again, I used the gratitude strategy and the Beglad game, and that's what has always got me through, really. There was times when I beat myself up and I was like, Polly, why are you feeling so down? You're so lucky. So many people would love to not have to go to work. You do sometimes literally have to say stop. It's like stop as you're going through all these thoughts. Just stop, because everybody's got that little voice in their head, haven't they, that goes, and you have to physically stop it and say, no, you're wrong, I'm okay, the sun's shining, there's goodness in this world. In my opinion, I think once you start thinking about something good, and if you can set your sights on something good, because you're thinking about it, you're looking for opportunities to make it happen, because it's front of mind. And trying to keep happiness front of mind is really sort of the key, because then you look for things to be happy about, and you find that joy that you're looking for. I remember being in a seminar once where a guy, he asked us to look around the room and look for everything we could see that was yellow. So we were all sat and looking for yellow things, and then he was like, okay, that's it, back on me. Okay, and then he's like, how many things did you count that were red? And we're like, none, because you said look for yellow things. And that's just how our mind works, isn't it? When you're focused on looking for one thing, you don't see the other stuff. Be really careful what you focus your mind on, and that's positives and negatives, because if you believe that the world is an awful place, you're likely to find evidence to back you up.
So what would you say is your number one story out of all of this that you've heard so far of good coming out of bad and reasons to be glad?
I've got three sort of top stories. So I don't want to belittle I don't want to sort of take anything away from any of the other stories, but the three stories that stand out for me is a lady called Emma, who was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease when she was 29. And Parkinson's disease is considered an old man's disease.
Yeah.
Well, most people think of it like that. And she, again, dignity and grace the whole way through. She's obviously still alive, and she does TED Talks and charity fundraisers, and she's such an inspiration. She did a whole year she posted, and how she did this I do not know, because even just with my project I'm finding it hard, but she literally posted a video every day. It was called 365 days of 365 days of Parkinson's, or PD or something like that. Well worth a look, just to sort of really see what she went through, and she's still working on other projects now. And then a guy called Alex Lewis, who he lost his arms and his legs, and I want to say he's famous, but I mean his story is quite well known. It's been on major news channels. He just happened to live near me where I was living at the time, and agreed to do an interview, bless him, which I was so grateful for. And he caught strep A, I think it's strep A, sepsis, and it just he thought he had a really bad cold, but this attacked him, and he lost his limbs, all 4 limbs, and he even lost his his lips, and had to have those rebuilt. And why I like his story is because he thinks it's one of the best things that ever happened to him. Now, how often would anyone say losing your arms and part of your face is the best thing that's ever happened to you? That just sounds bonkers, doesn't it? But when he reflects on it, he admits that he was probably drinking a little bit too much. He was sort of just stumbling through life, really. And now, having been surrounded by so much love and support and such a major medical team working on him, he and his partner Lucy, they never say no to anything now. He is living his life to the max, like properly to the max. He's about to embark on he's had this sort of crazy solar powered, he's going to like cycle up the highest mountain in Ethiopia or something like that, because in Ethiopia, some people that have lost their limbs, they have to like share the prosthetic legs to get from one farm to the other and things like that. And so he's going to try and create, I think he's going to try and create like a wheel. I'm going to grossly misquote him, but like a wheelchair factory over there, or get them the bits and pieces that they need. So he's an inspiration. But I think it just really hit me when he said that it was one of the best things that had ever happened to him. So look Alex Lewis up, because his is an inspirational story. And he also works with universities, I think the University of Southampton mainly, on developing prosthetic limbs, because if you can imagine, a student that's got all their limbs doesn't really understand what it is that someone needs. Alex said, we don't need a little pinky finger because it's not going to help us. It's not going to help me unload the dishwasher. And those are the practicalities that he has to get over every day. And then one of my favourites is a guy called Mark Ormrod. He was a Royal Marine. He was the first triple amputee of the Afghan conflict. So he pretty much died in the back of a Chinook helicopter. And then they managed to bring him back. Well, luckily, they put him to one side and started working on another casualty because they thought he'd gone. And then the doctor walking past him noticed, I think it was either some steam on his mask, or it was his eye flicker or something like that, and realised that he was still alive. They performed some sort of groundbreaking procedure on him that had only sort of been approved days before by the top brass. And he survived, but obviously he'd lost 3 of his limbs. And he's just such an amazing character. He's so into his personal development. He talked about when he was in the hospital recovering, that he did have a few moments of feeling a little bit down and a bit sorry for himself. And hey, who wouldn't? You can't sort of take that from him. But then he'd heard another guy in the room next to him who had just got even more severe injuries, just crying out in pain. And he was like, actually, and this is another thing that I sort of reflect on a lot. There's always going to be people worse off than you, and there's always going to be people better off than you. So you just have to make peace with where you are in the world right now, But he is a machine. He's an absolute machine. He went on to compete in the Invictus Games 10 years after the injury, last year, I think it was, and he got 4 medals, and then he got like an overall medal for being awesome. There's a proper title for it. I can't remember what it was, but generally just being awesome. He just doesn't let anything hold him back. And actually, I've got one of his t-shirts because he's got a little t-shirt range, and on the back it says, through struggle comes strength. And I think that's just a really strong message. Mark Ormrod, definitely look him up, because he's competing in the Invictus Games in Australia as well. So I feel so privileged. I feel so privileged that that I'm meeting such inspirational people. It honestly is such a blessing, because they are really inspirational, and I just hope that they inspire other people as well. You know, I know they do, but I guess I hope that people will come to the Beglad website and see these stories and be inspired to keep going and not give up hope.
So how can people get in touch with you and give you their stories? I know that there's going to be tons of people watching who have some amazing examples that would be really, really awesome.
Awesome, that would be fab. I mean, the most obvious one is go to the website, and there's a contact form on there. So it's beglad.co.uk, or email me, polly@beglad.co.uk. And then on any of the social media channels, just ding me and I will be in touch, because I've got a lot of work to do to get those last 50 stories at least for the before the end of the year. So yeah, and I'll share the donation link as well, if that's okay. Obviously, I've already talked about gratitude journaling, and the Beglad movement is generally about gratitude journaling in the moment. So that's kind of the obvious one. But I think it would be volunteering. Go and volunteer and help someone else, because I just truly believe that when you help other people, it gives you such a tremendous sense of well-being, and also you feel like your own troubles aren't as bad, you know. And I do think it's really powerful to give some time and help other people. It's really important.
So go check out Pollyanna, guys, and I hope you have an amazing day wherever you are. Smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to touch that notification bell to make sure that you never ever miss a video. Thank you so much. I really appreciate taking the time out.